that to me really meant basically computational network sociology. And now I'm the CEO of a company called Graphica. I don't know if you've heard of it. If you have, it's probably for the work we've done with the Intellectual Media and Intelligence and unraveling election manipulation around 2016. And we continue to do this work with the Silicon Valley platform for image tenants. So we're basically vampire hunters chasing online propaganda. We do that with a particular understanding of the world, a particular understanding of technology, which I hope to introduce you to today. I'm trying to indoctrinate you into the graphical view of the world. And this is a view that is centered on a concept we call cybersocial terrain. And I want to unpack that for you, because one of the reasons people say we live in a borderless world is because the internet lets us communicate at scale. I want to actually go down that road and see what the implications are of that. So our philosophy is that humanity evolved in geotrain. So 2D space wrapped around a sphere where the speed of a message is the speed of a horse or somebody running or a boat. And for hundreds of thousands of years, that's how humanity from our ancestors became what we were and what we are. And now we're becoming something different. And that's because we live in a new type of terrain. So for all those years, every good trader, every army fighting, every network or empire or kingdom existed in geoterrain. So let me start the story by saying, why do we call ourselves graphical? A lot of people think because we do a lot of graph mathematics and graph analysis, and that's not actually the story. It's actually an homage to this person. I'm sure a lot of you folks know who this is. Sometimes called the father of the field of geography. The person who said, hey, we can actually map geoterrain, we can put down grids, we can be scientific about this, and founded a book called Geographica with the Greek K, the field that you guys are the masters of now. And we named ourselves Graphica in homage to that by just chopping off the geos, because we're measuring a new type. Think about how humanity changed at this moment in time. You don't even need to get to the internet to see how global scale, real-time, point-to-point communications radically altered human society. With the advent of the telegraph, real-time, global scale communications transformed the way markets ran, the way armies fought, the empires were run, all of that without anybody in the Abraham Lincoln having one of these in their house. So this is what real-time, point-to-point global scale communication looks like today. It's a map of Facebook friendships strapped onto geoslots. But this terrain is not, even though this is not connecting half the planet's population in real-time and global scale through the phones and computers, that terrain doesn't actually look like that. It looks like this. All the choices people make about who to follow and what to like and what YouTube video to watch, all of these condition algorithms, and they form connections between individuals. All those micro decisions form a vast, complex network. It has shape, it has structure. That shape and structure determine who's influential to who, how information spreads, how people get acculturated, where their values come from, who they take leadership from, whether they end up being a Beyonce fan or being recruited into a terrorist network. All of this now happens on the internet without respect to physical geography or geospace. It happens in cybersocial terrain, which we think is the primary domain of human activity now. We have armies and military assets sitting all over the planet. By the time those end up in a fight, we've already been having state-on-state warfare in this terrain for years, as has been going on right now. This is what the Russians are doing to us right now. This was in 2015, what the Chinese and everybody else is doing. The manipulation of cybersocial terrain is a new form of 21st century conflict. And how do we wrap our heads around that if we don't even know how to deal with cybersocial terrain? And we all know about terrain, you can't navigate it unless you map it. And that's what we do. So we apply large-scale network analytics to understanding the structure of these vast online networks. We do it for some commercial customers to help them sell beer. We do it for others to help the U.S. Senate understand how foreign actors are trying to manipulate our authentic political conversations. And I want to explain the concept in just a few simple slides. This is a diagram of roughly the top 200,000 weblogs in the world. And it's in the 14 largest blogging languages. So you've got Chinese in red, you've got Russian in white up there, all the different European languages, Asian languages up there. And basically what's happening is when one blogger cites another, it pulls those dots together like a spring. It's a course-directed layout graph visualization. And what do you think the purple one in the middle is? What language is that? English, because that's the global connecting language of the internet. There are a few connections from, French directly into Hindi and stuff like that, that's huge. But there's much more connectivity through the English language, which is the center of global cybersocial trade, this vast network. The borders that exist, there are no borders, except maybe behind the Chinese Great Firewall. But to the extent that there is something border-like, it's the borders of language. We're now looking at those kinds of weblog networks, these visualizations of layout for the 12 largest blogging languages in the world. And you can see that these have different shapes, different structure. Remember, all those bloggers, just like anyone with a Facebook page or a Twitter account, is making choices of who to connect to. And those choices create terrain, they create density of connectivity. And within those patterns of density is how leadership evolves, influence happens, information flows. This is a picture of cybersocial trade. And the fact that it looks different for every different language is because different cultures are different. If you look at the English language, that's actually dominated by the two big blobs, which are conservative and liberal American politics. If you look at the French, they're up there, that kind of big thing on top is gourmet cooking, right? So the shape of cybersocial trade reflects the cultures, the politics, the characteristics of the people who form it. And it has authentic form. If I got what I see the timer? I'm going to do it. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to do something real quick. Here's a great article that we had in the MIT Technology Review. This is basically the American political spectrum, and we introduced a concept we call weaponized polarization. And this is how intentional manipulators of natural conversations are damaging our democracy. What we can see here is that what we call peanuts, it's basically the American far right and red, the far left and blue, and kind of everything through central politics all across the middle. And if we look at how loud those are, there's a Twitter account. How much do they post today? What we can see is that the accounts that only connect to their own political stripe, the far right over there, the far left over there, are massively louder than the political center. And that's through automation. So the natural polarization that happens through this choice making online, the so-called filter bubbles you hear about, have been weaponized by manipulative actors who run vast networks of automated accounts in order to pump up and take advantage of this polarization. And this is the fundamental underlying problem that is affecting our democracy now. So just to, I'm going to move forward. I don't have a whole lot of time. I just want to rip into one particular slide, which shows you a little bit about what we do. And this is the work that we do at the Senate, and we also work a lot with platforms in Silicon Valley in chasing down and taking down networks of accounts controlled by foreign state actors. This is just what that looks like. We have what we call the ABC framework of perception. The A is the actors who's doing it. There's two different parts of the Russian capability, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. In the middle, that's where we come in. We look at the distribution system, behavior, the network of accounts, the bots that move these messages again and again, and we understand the configuration and cybersocial training of these fake right-wing Americans, left-wing Americans, and Germans and all these other stuff. So anyway, that's what we do. If you're interested, come to our website and feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.